Hi everyone, welcome to today's Ask the Expert session. So thank you for joining this one. And today's session is going to be dedicated to mastering collaboration and sharing. So before we get started, let's just double check that you can hear me well and also you can see my screen. In case you do not, then please raise your hand or drop me a line in the question box that you can find in GoToWebinar control panel. So I would be aware of any ongoing issues that we might have. And also, I would like to mention that this is mainly an interactive Q&A session. So, oops, you don't see the screen. Now you should be able to see the screen. So this is mainly interactive session, so I highly encourage you to interrupt me with any questions that you might have on the go, or even better, if you could raise your hand so I could unmute you and you could speak live to share your use case or the question that you have, or anything that's on your mind that is related to WRIKE. So let's get started then. So, as I mentioned, today we're going to talk about mastering collaboration and sharing. Depending on your ideas and requests, and for that you can always leave me your message in the question box, I mainly cover how to collaborate on a task level and also how WRIKE looks from the collaborator's perspective of view, because this is a very common request that I get recently. Okay, so also our session will take approximately about 30 minutes, depending on how many questions you're going to have and what cases you would like me to cover. So let me first introduce myself. My name is Daria, and I'm WRIKE Product Guru. Most probably, if you have already attended any webinars or asked the experts, then very often you might have already heard of me or seen my name. So I've been with WRIKE for about 1 year and a half. I started as a member of a support team, and I was answering all sorts of questions that we were getting from our customers. And now I'm doing my best to help our customers to implement WRIKE in the most successful way for their business needs. And of course, to make sure that their team is onboarding successfully and start using WRIKE in the most efficient way. And of course, as a normal human being, I do share a few secret passions such as oil painting and psychology. But enough about me. Let's move on. So, what you will learn today? There will be mainly three topics that we're going to go through. So, we're going to understand how to create visibility. That means sharing. How to apply the same sharing logics to your workspace. Also, depending on how often you do collaborate with external partners or clients, so we would understand how exactly you need to share your items in WRIKE so you know and you feel safe that these items are seen to only those who you want it to have access to. And of course, how to customize inherited sharing and control editing permissions on a folder level. So let's move further. And my Safari is a little bit slow today. Too many presentations. All right, so will it load for me or will it not? Sorry about that. This is happening for the first time. Why Safari doesn't want to show the presentation? Okay, let me start the presentation one more time. Apologies for this tiny technical issue. Sometimes when there are too many presentations, computer doesn't really like to work anymore. So it more feels like it's a human being rather than a computer. All right, there we go. So I'll just go to the next slide. So, sharing. Most probably, if you have already attended any of previous sessions or webinars, then you might actually recognize these three main squares, boxes, name it anything you like, where I mainly talk about essential framework of WRIKE. It is extremely important to know the framework of WRIKE because then it is much easier for you to follow the logics of how sharing or how actually work happens in WRIKE. And just to remind you what this framework is, the first is always a folder, your main container, and something what you create a structure with. Then, of course, project and a task. So when we talk about sharing logics in WRIKE, of course, I can also judge from my own experience that a lot of users, they don't really dive deep into it. So then they create a lot of folders and they don't really understand why this folder is visible to others while another one is not. So to make sure that you'll be experts in sharing, let's take a look at this essential framework. So parent folder level, when we talk about sharing, and let's say you have a very top level folder, that means that it has a lot of subfolders to it. And once you share the parent folder, the sharing logic will be very simple and it's always the same top down. So that means that whenever you share a parent folder, all subfolders will be shared, and also tasks, because tasks is content of those folders. However, if you want to have a more granular sharing, select a specific subfolder, which means that parent folder remains unshared, and only specific subfolder will be shared with its content. And finally, a task. So sharing could be as granular as on a task level. So you can go ahead, you can just share a single task, and all the folders would remain unshared. And of course, this is pretty convenient when we talk about collaboration with external partners who we grant collaborator type of license in WRIKE. But I will show you how that all works from my demo account. So again, the folder structure sharing. Just to give you a very basic example. So for example, this is an admin view on the screenshot that you can see here. So whenever I have a parent folder, which is company, and whenever I expand it, you can see how many subfolders I have. So the tree is quite long. And for example, I have a new team member who joined our marketing team, and I only want to share this marketing subfolder. You can see that resides under IT folder. So I go ahead, I right-click on marketing, and I share it with a new team member. So from the user perspective, from this new team member perspective, he will see his account only with the marketing folder and all the folders, subfolders that reside inside of a marketing folder. So very simple. Just understand which level you want to share. Go ahead and share. And let's also talk about users. So this would be pretty relevant to those who have admin rights in WRIKE. What does it mean? Because only admins can choose which license to grant, it is important to understand what type of licenses we have. So the very common one and default whenever you invite a new team member is going to be regular user. So regular user creates, shares, and invite other team members. So basically, regular user has all the functionality in WRIKE. However, external user, they can also create any items in WRIKE, they can work in WRIKE, but the only thing they cannot do is to share, and they cannot invite anybody else. This is more applicable to large accounts whenever you want to control who is joining your account. And of course, external users, they also won't be able to see other users unless they are mutually shared on a folder level or a task level. And finally, collaborator. Collaborator, which is the best license for any external partners or clients that you have, and it also doesn't require any paid seat in your account. And mainly, this is a view mode access. So collaborators can only change status of a task, add their comments and attachments. So these are 3 basic licenses, and of course you can learn more and to see the comparison table on the Help Center, just so you would learn it and you would know what everything entails. And user groups. User groups, this is a functionality available on business and enterprise plans. So this is also more applicable to those accounts that have multiple teams, or you would like to create specific user groups either per team or any other category that you would like to unite them all. So, and also each account, paid account, they have my team default group that includes all regular users. So whenever you share something with my team group, it means whenever you have a new team member, a regular user in your account, they will be automatically shared on this item. And as I already mentioned, custom user group. So if you have multiple teams or you would like to split your team members onto smaller groups, so you would be able to share your folders or tasks per group, not just going and selecting each individual, then that's the way to go. And let's go to my demo account. Excuse me. So of course, we would first start with sharing of our folders. Whenever we go to departments, well, it's just my example. This is my demo account. So I will drill down and I will go, for example, to marketing team. And let's check who it is shared with. So right now, departments, you can see that right now I'm on this level and it is shared only with myself and with Matt. Well, we inherit sharing from the top because we have created company structure. So why we didn't share departments? Because we want each team to have access only to their own folder. So whenever I go to marketing, we can see that this folder is shared with marketing team and we inherit the sharing as well. Whenever I switch to IT folder, we would see immediately that it is shared with IT team, the user group that I have created from my account management. So let's switch back to marketing. Whenever we are talking about sharing and folder permissions, let's dive deeper into that. So for example, we have a very important project, for example, for title blog. And let's say I want to customize access on this folder. So I'll right click on this folder. I'll click on share. And from here, I can already see who it is shared with. So whenever I go to selected one group and two users, we can see that it is shared with myself, with Matt, and he's already on the marketing team and marketing. So because title blog, it has inherited the sharing, you cannot unshare anything that has access, inherited access. But you can edit permissions. What is permissions? Since we were talking about licenses, permissions pretty much follows the same logics. So let's say that you grant access to all folders to your team members, but some of the folders you would like to control what can happen to this folder. So for example, I can select the entire group and actually to restrict, to make it full access, editor access, or limited access. So I can make it on the entire group level. And now I will switch it to full access. Or you can deselect it and actually choose who you would like to change the access to. So let's talk about what does it do. Full access, you can just steal everything. Once we switch to editor access, that means you can still work on tasks, you can collaborate on their level, but you cannot delete anything. But to show you how the comparison table, I'll go to WRIKE help. Well, actually, I will switch to that from the button that I have at the bottom. So the table that we have, the comparison table, there you can see what you can do. So whenever we decide, and I'll type in folder permissions, and there we would see the comparison table of what each type of access would have. And remember, it pretty much follows the same logics as licenses. So full access, it means full functionality. You can do everything to tasks, you can delete them, you can delete the folder, you can change everything. Whenever we switch to editor, then it restricts the very important aspects, such as they cannot edit the folder or project permissions. They will not be able to share a task folder and projects in case we're dealing with sensitive data. They cannot delete tasks and folders, and very often I can tell from my experience that this is something what a lot of users are bothered, because some individuals, their colleagues, they're coming and they're deleting tasks by mistake or intentionally, and then you're kind of losing it from your site. And they also cannot add or change tags and parent tasks. So these are the main 4 restrictions on editor level. And limited, it's pretty much the same as a collaborators. They have a view access to the folder. So we can see that they can view tasks, they can change task statuses, make comments, add attachments, and also track the time whenever they need to. However, collaborators, they cannot track the time. So depending on your use case, depending if you need this functionality, you just go to share and then you select those individuals that you would like to edit permissions of by selecting the entire group or by selecting everyone. And remember, there always should be one user with full access. So you cannot restrict access to all the users that are shared on a folder. Okay, so if you have any questions about this particular part, then please go ahead, raise your hand. I'll be happy to discuss this. If you have any questions, whether you should use the folder permissions or not, also feel free to use the question box at the bottom. So now we know how to play with folder permissions. A lot of users actually do not know about this functionality, so now you can consider yourself as a more advanced one. And in case you're an admin or you're a project manager, then once you start creating your folder tree or you have already ready one, it's really a good chance for you to figure and to understand how you would like to customize access and to control what your team members can do and what they cannot do to a folder. Okay, so now let's switch to the fun part. So first, I would like to encourage you to check apps and integrations. So whenever you go to your profile picture, here's apps and integrations button. Whenever you click on it, you will get redirected to the apps you can integrate in WRIKE. So since we're talking about collaboration today, we need to download the WRIKE document editor from the configure. Also, I can tell that a lot of our users, they are using a lot of attachments inside of WRIKE and they collaborate on this level. Why? Because we're all aiming to work from the same tool. So we consolidate everything into WRIKE. We keep their attachments, we keep our images. All right. I have a question. Will you ever collaborate with Slack app? We do have an integration with Slack. I would need to go and to look for it at our page. Okay, the folder one. There is a very basic integration, but basically all the integrations that WRIKE doesn't have necessarily. It will be available through, for example, Zapier or Azuqua. But of course, those, they require a license, but in Zapier, you can have a certain amount of free integrations. So right now, WRIKE and Slack, they're available in labs. So depending on if you know it or not. Okay, I see another question about Jira integration. Since I don't really cover Jira integration in this session, because it is a very complex integration, first, of course, I would highly encourage you first to check our help center. For example, one user asked about WRIKE and Slack, so we have a dedicated page for that, which you can enable in Labs. So I will just go ahead and I'll paste these links in our chat box. The first one is about WRIKE and Slack. So you can add your Slack integration in WRIKE.com Labs and to test it out and see how that works. We have all the guidances in our help portal, so feel free to go and check it out. And in Labs, you can see there's Slack integration, which is a personal feature. So you just check the box of enable, you refresh your page, you follow the guidance of how to set it up, and you're all done. So I will also send the link to the Labs where you can also see the most recent features that we have released. They're right now in testing environment, so you can just test it out and please also send your feedback because this is something what we monitor regularly to know if this feature is successful or not. Speaking of Jira integration, we have, of course, you can also have a Jira two-way sync from the WRIKE apps and integration page. And most importantly, I would also encourage you to go to the Help Center and to read a very detailed guidance on Jira. So we have two types of guidances. One is the setup guide and another one is user guide. So just check our help portal. If you're still not sure or you would like to have a more technical dive into that, I would encourage you to contact our support team because we have specialists who are mainly focusing on very complex integrations and they will be able to answer all your questions. That applies to any type of integration that you would like to learn more about. Right, so there is another question. Let me just check. I need collaborators to be able to change the description of tasks to check off if they have agreed to the design. So it is easy to see at a glance without having to read the conventions. Okay, I guess you mean comments. Okay, can you do that? All right, let's go back to our main focus, collaborators, because this is a very actually popular topic nowadays. Excuse me. So whenever we speak about collaborators, and we know that this is a very limited type of access in WRIKE, that means that we need to understand how we can get all we need from the collaborators. So since they cannot change the description, they only can comment. And whenever we speak about communication in WRIKE, here would be rather a workaround for you. So first, let me start from the scratch. I would go to my creative folder and I would find a task. Well, actually, I will find it from externally shared, National Geographic. And here's a task that a collaborator is working on. So first, a little bit of history. Right now, I'm inside of this task, and this is a task view on the right. So here we can see that it resides in externally shared National Geographic folder, in National Geographic demo, in banner ads request, because originally we received this request through our marketing team that has all the incoming requests for banner ads in this folder. Second of all, I have a dedicated place for all the collaborators, all the partners and clients we work outside of our WRIKE organization. It is called externally shared, and it is shared with my team. So they know that this is an extremely important spot. This is a place where we keep folders per each client. And whenever I switch to National Geographic folder, right now I'm residing in it, we can see that this folder is shared, well, with my team. So WRIKE, all the team members that are in my WRIKE account, they know that this is folder for collaborators. And it is shared with Emily, who is a collaborator in this account. So speaking of communication, an advice here is whenever you have a task purely for collaborators, keep it this way. Keep it only one-way communication. So right now in this task, we work with the entire team on this task. And we can also see all the communication that's been going on this task level in the comment history. Here we can see who's been doing what. For example, Emily, as a collaborator, she's been approving the image file. She's been commenting on that. We were working on all her requests because this is what we do. So one of the options is to keep your communication on the task level, or for example, you can also keep it on a folder level. So I will go to my list view, National Geographic. So this is the content of this folder. I click on the folder icon. And since on the folder level, nobody really communicates simply because they don't know that they can. And here you can keep your communication with Emily. So I will tell Emily, the collaborator, we need your approval and thoughts by this Friday. And let's say Friday would be, which date would be? Let me check. So Friday is going to be the 4th of August. So I go back to my folder and by Friday, 4th of August. And I hit on send. Whenever I add mention Emily, and now this is Emily's account. And we can see that in her inbox, she gets her ad mention. This is the very first card that I can see in my inbox. And I can see that Daria, well, myself, she sent me, we need your approval. So I will say, I will hit on reply, and I'm a collaborator. I can use the same communication tools, and I'll say, will do. If I cannot, I will let you know. So this way, we keep all our most important collaboration and communication on this folder level. But yeah, as a collaborator, I cannot add a description. But what I can do is to actually work on a task. So for example, I have my own 2 folders. There is National Geographic, and one of the workarounds, in case this is a very common workflow for you, is to use statuses. Statuses right now, they're available to everybody, but you could agree that you have your own custom workflow for collaborators depending on what is the process or those phases that each task that you're working on with collaborator needs to go through. And for example, as a collaborator, I will mark it reviewed good to go once I'm happy with everything that's been done on this task. Or if I'm not happy, I can use review changes required. The second option, it depends on if you work on image files using Proofing and Approvals add-on. For example, here in the comment section, we have a file attachment, Proofing and Approvals. It could be anything. It could be PDF file, a large text, let's say PDF file consisting of 15 pages that you're working on. Or, for example, myself as a collaborator, I want to add another attachment, which I find extremely useful. Or, for example, personally, I would like the team that is working for me to use. So I will add this attachment. And as a collaborator, I can do that. I can attach any file. And on top of that, I can add a reviewer. So I hit on send. I will attach this file. Now this file has appeared here. I will check on this and I will add to review. So this file will be now pending for approval. Once I click on it, I can also add a version or I can edit it. But I have added it to the review. Also, once I click on the file itself, I can comment on it. So depending on your focus on the scope that you're working on, either that would be a PDF file, image file, or anything else, just let it load and keep your communication solely about this project here. For example, I will use an arrow. You can draw something, or you can outline as a box, or you can use the arrow, or just use the dot. So I will type in here that I really like this color. So let's see how we could improve our original mockup. And I will add mention Daria. Add mentioning is the best way to communicate in WRIKE and to make sure that only this person will get an instant notification about our communication. So I hit on enter. I will go back to my personal account, and now I will see that Emily, she commented on a new image file, so I can see exactly what she wrote on this file. I will go to this task, I will go to this file, and I will see that she commented on National Geographic second file. And I can either resolve it, so I hit on comments because it's highlighted, it means it's a new comment, and I would say, okay, cool, I will resolve this. So now it's been resolved. And since this is a new image, I will add it for approval. So I'll click on it, and I will add a reviewer. I would say Agnes that she would need to review this file. So this is one of the options, how you can collaborate, how you can communicate. There are many ways, so it's up to you which one would be the best for you. On a task level, you could also keep it just on a new task. For example, I will create a task, our ideas and communication. I will hit on enter, and this would be only a task where we would communicate. So that would be the easiest way to keep everything in one place. And I could assign it to Emily. And for example, myself, let's say I'm a project manager here and only we need to communicate. So there are multiple ways. The one that suits you best would be amazing. So there is another question that I have. If we use Smart Draw and we attach it from OneDrive, will we be able to open in Smart Draw? Thank you for the question. I'm afraid that right now WRIKE uses its own viewers. So what we support right now is image files such as proving and approvals, document files. So I think that Smart Draw, it won't open it up for you. However, whenever you are attaching a file from the cloud, it means that it will open it in the cloud. So it will redirect you there. So basically you'll link this file into WRIKE. About the Smart Draw, this is more of a technical question and what we support, but I'm afraid that the answer would be rather no. I would still highly recommend to check it with our support team. And trust me, our support team is really great. They are super responsive, either on the live chat or if you submit a request. All right. And of course, yes, there will be a small tip that I would like to share with you is that whenever you are working with really large amount of files, it's better to use our attachment integrations, such as with Google Drive, Dropbox, Box, OneDrive, or YouTube, because then those files won't take any space in WRIKE. However, if you like to collaborate using Proofing and Approval add-on, or you would like to work on a document file, which I will now show you how, then of course you would need to stick to the files that are attached originally from your computer. So speaking of which, speaking of document editor, you need to download it, as already mentioned, from your profile apps and integrations. So where you can find WRIKE Document Editor. Once you have it installed, that means that whenever you start working on files, it will open it in its own native document editor. So I will just expand the view of the task. And here we can see there are two options. Some they really prefer to work on a description from the description field. And yes, collaborators, they won't be able to do anything to a description, but they will be able to see the description itself. So I will switch back to Emily's account, who is collaborator, and we can see that she still can see the description field right here. And she can always comment on a task or even quote, if needed, any comment right here. So switching back to my original task. Whenever we work from the description, what I really like about this is that I can always click on the text and go to the revision history. What will it do for you? Revision history is really awesome tool in order to see who has contributed to the description, what was the original description. So we can see by using the scroller, we can see who has been adding what. We can see that Agnes, highlighted in purple, this is her color, and we can see who added this description. We can see what she was typing there. We can see what Daria has added, so we can see all the changes. Whenever we like more the original one, for example, this is exactly what I want this description to be, click Restore this version, and it will be restored to this point of time. And remember that you won't be able anymore to go back to the future, to the final view of the description. So that's one of the ways how you can collaborate on a task. And finally, document editor. Document editor in WRIKE, it would save all the versions that you have uploaded. So whenever we go to the comment section, and I will scroll down and we would need to see more updates. Show more. So it will be showing the entire history that's been going on. We can see that myself, I've added a new version of National Geographic. And whenever we go up, we scroll all the way up, we would see all the comments that's been going on. We can see that Agnes, she uploaded version 3. There was also the version 1. But this is one of the ways where you can check for the versions. Whenever I right click on National Geographic Word text file, you can check the history. And we can see that the history, right now there's version 4, there's 3, 1, and the original one. Whenever I click it, it opens it up in document preview. So this is how the original file was looking like. So this is the original text on the file. Once you want to edit it, it will add it and open it in a document editor. And once you start editing, nobody else will be able to contribute on it, because right now it will be worked by you, so it will be locked for others to add anything to it. So let's close it for the time being and let's check the latest version. And the latest version is going to be the 4th. So I click up, 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 clicking too much. So I'll click on History 4, and here we would already see the final version of this file, the latest one. And we can see that this text has been added, add another text for review, and this tiny paragraph was also added. So that is the second way how you can collaborate on the file level using Document Editor. And I can assure that there are a lot of users who are actively using this way of collaboration. Because as a collaborator, Emily, I can also view it, I can also work in it, of course, with installing the document editor to my computer. So, speaking of communication, and since you're not able to really use the description, you can work from the document itself. So, there is always a solution to any desires. Just knowing the functionality would help you to figure what is the best option to do it. So that was kind of a very brief, actually even a deeper dive into how to collaborate with a collaborator, how to know how it looks like from their perspective. So right now, since I'm still in Emily's account, we can see that there is a National Geographic folder where we have a new mockup National Geographic file, and there's another folder with 2 main tasks. And remember, National Geographic had a lot of tags. I won't be able to see any of this because I'm only shared on National Geographic folder. I only have access to this task. And what I can use my inbox to check, for example, for new assignments. And you can see that Daria has assigned our ideas and communication tasks, so we can stick to it and we can work and communicate on this task level. And as a collaborator, I can also use my work just to check which tasks I'm currently assigned to and I need to work on. So I do hope that you have questions, so please feel free to ask me anything. Either how to work from a collaborator's perspective, or you have any questions about integrations or sharing, just what will help me to understand what is still unclear to you, or perhaps you have a very specific use case to share and you're unsure how to use WRIKE from this standpoint. So please go ahead, let me know what questions you have. Also, if you would like to discuss it live, feel free to raise your hand. So I'll be happy to unmute you and to listen to your use case or anything that is on your mind. So while you're still thinking and coming up with some questions, remember that I already said that we have a help button at the bottom. So whenever you click on this button, you will be redirected to our help center. And there you can find everything. For example, you're not sure what document editor supports. So just type in document editor and you would see all the requirements for the system. So just click on document editor. And here you would see a very detailed guidance and supported operating system and files types. So this is one thing that you would definitely need to check. Alternatively, you can also go to, for example, proofing and approvals. And here we have 2 dedicated articles about proofing. Proofing. Oh, I really don't like this autocorrection. I need to turn it off. So whenever I click on the article proofing, here you would also be able to dive deeper into this functionality to see who it is working for, what files are supported, how to use video proofing, because we support video proofing as well in case you're from the creative team or marketing team, and to see all the system requirements that we have. The same would work for approvals as well. And of course, on top, you would always see who can use it, how it would be accessed by other team members, what license is required. And whenever you are still not sure, just open a live chat to have a live conversation with our support team. And you can also submit a request form in case you don't have time for the live chat. So that was pretty much it, what I wanted to to discuss today. Of course, hoping that you would have some questions, and thank you for all the questions that you have submitted. In case you come up with any additional questions or you have something else you would like to learn more about WRIKE, then please go ahead and check our additional sessions for Ask the Expert. And for example, tomorrow I'm going to talk about request forms and templates, which is mainly dedicated to how to automate your work in WRIKE. So in case this is your case, you would like to know from admin's perspective how to create request forms, what type of request forms is available, and how to use conditional dynamic request forms, then this is a session for you. And of course, how to create templates and to make sure that your team knows how to automate their workflow. So, thank you very much for attending the session. I'll still will be happy to get any questions that you have. Okay, I do see a question. Let me open it up. Can we restrict it so that only users can change the task status to completed? We would like collaborators to change a task status to complete, awaiting final tick, and for only a project manager to check and mark as completed. Thank you. Thank you for this question. Right now, there is no such functionality, sadly. But during this, well, before the end of this year, we are planning to improve our custom workflow and perhaps being able to adjust a capability for collaborators will be also included. So stay tuned. You can also follow our blog or on the Help Center. We have release notes. And definitely, once this functionality will be on, it will be also in our labs for the testing. So it's, of course, it's sad that the answer is no, but I know this is a very common request, and this is something that our product management team is currently looking into. Please send me the link to register for tomorrow class. Sure, those who are still on the session, I will send you the webinar page where you could register for all the sessions what we have. So it will be WRIKE.com webinar, and there will be a dedicated section for Ask the Expert. So I'll just copy this one, and feel free to register to any suitable time slot. And you can also read the description if who this session is suitable for, and tomorrow is managing high volumes of work. So feel free to register for this one, and definitely prepare any questions or use cases that you have when you will be prompted to fill in the form before the session. So thank you all very much for attending this session. I hope it's been helpful and insightful. In case not, you can always attend next week's sessions. Feel free to list all your questions because I'm always happy to know in advance what issues are bothering you or what questions or use cases you might have. So I would have my session more customized. So thank you all for attending this one, and have a really great rest of the week. And I hope to see you at our next Ask the Expert sessions. So take care and bye, everyone.